Are you stuck between a rock and a hard place? Or maybe we'll call it middle management. But today's guest, Jennifer Jensen, and we have a conversation about this, about middle management, the skills that it takes to become higher or better. And what do I mean by that? Well, they could be soft skills. They could be the decision actually to accept a promotion to go into what I'll call higher management or executive management. Sometimes it's not the right idea or the right time to do that. So we need to know what is the best way to do this. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the skills that may be needed, some of the things that you may look for, maybe even some pitfalls about accepting that role. So please sit back and enjoy this podcast. But remember, if you're a pet owner, please be responsible and have your pets spayed or neutered. Thanks. Micromanagement. People don't like to be micromanaged.
No.
So
nobody does.
Yeah, you're right.
We all want to be trusted.
Yeah.
Resources. And I think the big struggle middle managers have is they were promoted to be managers and they were really great SMEs or experts in their areas. And now they're having to change their mindset, and a lot don't recognize this and need to. And they need to become the business architect who sees interactions across all the functions, not just the one little area that they were comfortable in.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Because we, as individuals, stand out maybe in that specialized area, and then somebody pulls us out and says, "You're going to be great. You're going to be a manager. You're going to run the show."
Yeah.
That I never thought about it like that, but that's a difficult task, and like you said, it's a mindset change. Now you have to have a broader, not only a broader knowledge, but I would imagine how to manage people in a lot of different given situations.
Totally. And with COVID, we saw a lot of the senior leaders being let go from organizations or retiring from organizations. So we lost that mentoring that middle managers need, and organizations are now starting to think about, mentoring their managers, because they need to be a lot more people focused and have the soft skills to manage their teams.
Yeah.
And so they're starting to recognize this is an added value to invest in their teams. But also with middle managers, they need to also optimize their current role success rather than just developing executive level thinking. Because you need to develop that as well, but you also need to optimize what you're doing at your current role level.
I'm going to ask you something that sounds silly, but I know a lot of people have heard the term, the word, but may not know exactly what it is. Soft skills. Can you explain to us a little bit about what soft skills are, or what it would be in a business situation?
So soft skills is that self-awareness, understanding of who you are and how you respond to different situations, and dealing with conflict and how you do it in a manner that you get the best out of the individuals versus they are now in a rage and you've created a whole bigger conflict out of the situation. It's really understanding when you need to give empathy, when you need to be humble, and just understanding how that impacts the whole team. Because you're working with people. You're not working with machines. These are humans. And so you have to adapt and change your style accordingly.
That sounds like it goes right in line with gaining respect of others, and which can in turn help with you not micromanaging perhaps.
Yes.
And becoming that, maybe this is an overused term, but that influencer.
Yes. And so with micromanagement, it's usually coming out of a place of fear. And so you got to identify that fear so that you can go to your team and say, "Hey, I have this fear because I'm not in control. So I need you to help me deal with that." So when you see me starting to micromanage, just go, "Hey, Jen, you're starting to micromanage. Can we talk about this?"
So also it sounds like to me that mid-level management managers should be a little bit more open, may not be the right word, because we hear open door policy from senior level, but we know that it's closed a lot of times. But
Yeah.
I don't know how I want to ask or put this or state this, but I have this feeling of I know what you're talking about when I want to be able to approach my manager, and I want my manager to be approachable, which then makes me feel comfortable with that mid-level manager, and I can have this conversation. I think that makes everybody feel comfortable. Am I thinking of this in the wrong way, right way, or
No,
Comfort.
that's exactly it. Yeah, you want to have that relationship where you can be honest and truthful and say, hey, this is what's going on. And I think that's, even as leaders, we need to go, let me take your feedback and let me help you feel heard so that we can make these changes. And I know people are concerned about the word vulnerability, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to, as a leader, go and cry in front of you because of something that happened. That's not vulnerability. That can be manipulation depending on the situation. But me as a leader saying, hey, you know what? I made mistakes. And I know that I'm not perfect, and I need you to help me and support me on that. And that may seem to people, well, that's the wrong approach because you're not going to be respected. Actually, it's the exact opposite. People are going to respect you more and feel like they can come to you, especially if your actions match your words. And that's key.
You know, thinking back to my times and stuff with corporations, and you're right, I absolutely do feel much more comfortable when the leadership, the leaders, are a little bit more vulnerable, but like you said, not to where they give in or they're a pushover, or
No.
the way I feel, if that's what they're like. But just being open and vulnerable, it makes me feel more comfortable. Now, this also makes me think about how that mid-management or any type of leader, or even that mid-management leader that wants to move up, they need to find their style, what their leadership style is. So how does that person find that style, that leadership style? What do they do? What do they look for in themselves?
That's a really good question, because if you're really striving to be one where you have a team leader style, you want to have that authentic where your team is growing and more productive, you have to evaluate where your strengths and weaknesses are and how you're going to grow to improve on those skills so that you can be that leader. And leaders aren't born, they're developed.
Okay.
And so we need to develop those skills. So if you want to be an authoritarian leader or dictator, you can. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to be successful.
You won't get much out of me if that's the way you're going to be.
No. You're going to have high turnover and your productivity is going to be low.
You know, that's the thing is, companies are there for profit, productivity, and your style is going to have an effect on that if you are a leader.
Yeah.
So, and what can happen there is, if that style doesn't fit with what you need as the company, your position you may get axed.
Exactly.
So, sticking with the mid-level managers and them discovering their style and things like that, are there personal traits that come into play as far as how you can choose to lead and things like that? Because you said leaders are not born, I'm going to use the word, they're crafted.
Oh, I like that.
So does one's personality come into this leadership style and discovering your style of leading people?
It can. Most definitely. I use Lumina Learning, so they have a program that helps you figure out your leadership style, which I love, and it really goes into depth about your strengths and weaknesses and how you respond to situations, especially in high stress. And so that helps you understand who you are and who you are as a leader and how to grow. And right now, with the complex environment that we're dealing with, we're dealing with politics, we're dealing with gender differences, we're dealing with neurodiversity. Technology is out of control at the speed that it's changing. So as leaders, we have to be much more adaptable, and we have to have empathy, because that's a big calling right now, is for the empathetic leader. So we have to have some of these key skills to be able to survive what's going on in the world today.
Boy, those are two big words that you use, adaptability and empathy. And definitely, I have seen a lot of managers, people in general, who have a difficult time with adaptability and empathy. Can you give us any clues on this? Might again sound a little silly, but how do we learn to be empathetic? So if we're in a workplace and if you're a manager, how does one learn to have empathy?
I think the biggest thing is to actively listen. Sit down and listen to that individual, see what's going on, and try and understand their situation. Doesn't mean that you have to change everything, but at least you're sitting down and trying to understand and grasp what they're going through. And then you can, as you do that, you're going to build on that constantly. But the key and ultimate thing in leadership is actively listening and remove yourself from that situation. Like, don't be arrogant. Don't try and control it. Just be present.
Okay. Now, that may go along with my next thought and question is some of the biggest mistakes that middle managers make. Are there other things, or are there things that middle managers make that are mistakes?
They need to, for executive success, they need to get used to being comfortable with ambiguity and navigating that. And you're going to also have to figure out your stakeholder ecosystem to truly understand how to navigate the workplace.
So that, in effect, is going to allow you to stand out for the upper, CTO, CEOs, and all that to see you. Okay, that's middle management is a difficult place, I think, to be in, because you're again, I said liaison, and sometimes that just sounds like a easy thing to do, a task. All you're doing is going back and forth. But in this situation, definitely not, because you've got such a I'm just going to say 3 levels, but such a wide gap between upper and then the worker. So it's got to be that much more difficult to be that middle manager, and then to be able to stand out, but also at the same time remain calm, cool, and an influence and likable by everybody else that's under you. That's a poor thing to say, but under beneath. But is that true?
Yeah, absolutely, because you have to know how to manage up and manage down. And I have witnessed individuals who manage down, but not up, and they're let go. I've seen individuals manage up, but not down, and they're let go. Mm-hmm. So you have to have that balance of being able to manage both directions and develop those skill sets.
Wow. Now, how do you know if you're effectively leading?
The key is to be open to feedback and ask for it. Go to your executive, ask them for honest feedback. Go to your people, ask them for honest feedback, because they're going to provide you, if they feel comfortable, with accurate information. And if you have a fear in your team where they're afraid of you, you're not going to get the responses that you need. And so that's when you need to look at yourself and start working on what do I need to change the dynamics.
That's the other thing I think is managers, either they're afraid to ask their Jennifer, what should I call the people beneath the managers? Just the workers?
Yeah, the worker bees.
Worker bees. What I'm getting at with this is that a lot of times I think managers, mid-level managers, either don't think about or they think that they are too far above to ask the worker bees, do you see me doing anything that I should change? Or how do you feel that my style is? Asking those questions, which could help them in their effectiveness, I think, of leading everyone, and then to be effective enough to be able to highlight and show to the CTO, CEOs and things like that I have the skills to move up. So
totally.
I would say ask everyone. Don't be afraid to ask. And so do women have a more difficult time in this corporate world, in this scenario?
I think it's changing. I think there are gender differences, but what the corporations are looking for now is what a lot of the skill set is required of women. So the empathy, the people focused, that's coming out. The struggle that women have is dealing with stress like when you're in high stress functions, then that becomes a problem. Whereas men are much more stable in that area. But what's the research that's coming out, which I love, is that if an organization has, let's say, 30% female leaders and the rest male, they will be much more profitable than an organization that does not have that. So even the ideal is 50-50, because you're going to have different perspectives and different innovations that happen. And then in high stress situations, the males can tend to be the calm in the storm, where women are starting to learn that too. But that's where we can balance that all out. I'm not a I say this so much, maybe too often. I'm not a counselor, psychiatrist, or doctor, or anything like that. But you're right. I mean, we look at everything in the world, and we use that word yin and yang, the plus and minus, heaven and earth. Everything has to have a balance. If you have too much of something, it just is not going to ebb and flow the right way. It's not going to feel comfortable, I think. And you're right. I think in this corporate world, I'm glad to see that more companies are looking towards having higher up female to balance things out. I mean, look at what GM now with the first of the major motor companies in the world has a female executive leader up there heading everything and doing a good job. I hope she's doing a good job. I hope so too.
But this is kind of off track, but that balance is, I think, a good thing. And I would hope that women in middle management seek to go higher, to strive to be in that executive management position. Now, have you found that there's still a fear from women to possibly seek that higher position? And the reason I ask this is I think a lot of times women who do that are looked at by both women and men as being a bitch, because they are striving to be better.
I think it depends on the individual, because I've worked with women who are striving to be there and they manage by fear, which isn't effective.
Right.
And then I see other women who are phenomenal, who are comfortable with themselves and where they're at, and they're not threatened by other individuals that are amazing and succeeding. And I think that's the key for women to understand is we need to stop being threatened by each other and support each other and push instead of trying to tear each other down.
Yeah.
And that is constantly happening, which I think is sad.
It's been happening since the beginning of time, Jennifer.
I know.
and I'm going to use this analogy for the guys who really don't think so. Is, you go out to a nightclub or wherever, and the girl walks into the bathroom and she sees another girl at the mirror and she looks down at her shoes and goes, "Those are so nice. Oh, where did you get those? Oh, I love your lipstick." Like, "Oh, thanks." Walks out. That girl who made the compliment goes sits down with the rest of her girlfriends. You should have seen this blankety blanket in the bathroom. She had the worst shoes on and the worst makeup. And guys don't do that. We don't do that.
No.
I don't know why, but all this personal stuff I think spills over into professional life or back and forth. So we're always having to play that balancing game, and going back to that middle management, it's such a difficult place to be in the middle, stuck in the middle.
Yeah. And I so desperately want these women to be comfortable with who they are and just go for it.
Yeah. I know we're talking about women now, but it's for everything.
Yeah.
But women, I think especially because I don't want to jump on the equality kind of bandwagon, but there needs to be a fair playing ground and an equalization of things, just to make everything more comfortable. And like I said, the outcome is going to be better.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that we as women need to hang on to, it's all about equality and we got to keep fighting.
Right.
You know what? We have to take ownership for ourselves and push forward. And I know many aren't going to agree with me on this one, but it's often said, well, women need to break through the glass ceiling. We have a glass ceiling. Is that glass ceiling actually there, or are we as ourselves putting it there?
This gets into the psychology of everyone, because we are our own worst enemy. And when it comes to certain things like this, there's no gender bias as far as that, but I think in this situation, like you said, is women put that glass ceiling, and it's lower, not lower meaning easier to get through, but lower to where there's no room. They don't give themselves the credit or whatever it is to break through.
Exactly.
Well, you're getting a psychology lesson from Jennifer here. I don't want to lose sight of the full, middle management and how to break free from the middle management. But again, it's life.
Yes. This is part of management. Honestly and truthfully, it's all part of it.
Yeah, because a lot of outside influences from going home and coming into work and play into your breaking out of your style that might be bad, or creating a style of your management. So
yes.
Now, I because of the COVID thing, like you said earlier, and a lot of maybe seniors are either let go or they decided to retire early and things like that. It seems like there's possibly a younger generation, a younger group of middle management that's moving up. Is there a point in time when, even if I was that 27-year-old at a company, and if somebody offered me to go into executive management, should I assess that? And is there a point in time that you should turn it down and say, not right now? Or should you always just go for it?
No, don't always go for it. Make sure it's the right fit. Make sure you're the right fit and at the right place and time to move forward with it. Because it's not always going to be the right answer to do that. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you are growing and developing your skill set. And if you're not an effective manager right now, you're not going to be an effective executive. It's just going to progress, and it's not going to be good. What you need, and for myself, I've had to do it too, is you need to experience some hard knocks along the way to truly develop who you are.
With experience comes growth.
Yes.
Yep.
And sometimes you may be the sacrificial lamb, and you have to experience that, and that's tough. I've been through that a few times.
I haven't been, not really, but I have seen that happen. And I hear about it, at least in the past, that it happened more often than I realized.
Yes, it does.
Only because they had to put somebody in that position, type of thing. But that's good to know that you shouldn't always take that advancement. But I think if you don't take it, you should probably not just say no. Maybe give a reason behind it. Say, I want to gain more skills where I'm at and be able to do this. Do you have any suggestions for me to gain those skills so next time I am ready to say yes? Would that be a good idea?
Absolutely. And that will garner you a lot of respect, and they'll consider you potentially for the next time. Okay. And if they don't, they aren't the right company. Because you want to work for a company that's going to allow you to grow and develop at the right speed for you.
Yeah. And this goes right back to the title of your book, Developing Authentic Leaders. So that's, that's the key. That's the goal here that we're talking about. And like you said, in your book is more of a manual that's laid out in bullet points, so it's easy to read, easy to follow along. And I would imagine that you could go through certain steps, but you can also pick it up again and look for certain things, right? You don't have to all the time go from page 1 to page 100 type of deal.
This book, you don't really need to do that because it's 52 different topics, 2 to 3 pages per topic, and it could be on any situation that you may deal with. So dealing with different communication styles, dealing with conflict, it gives you enough information to help you out without having to read paragraphs and paragraphs and highlight just key points. You can highlight the whole book if you want.
That's right. Then you'll know that you've been reading it. This is all fascinating stuff, and I don't want to give away too much, but I think what you've let us know are valuable skills, and I really like the soft skills and giving the explanation really of what soft skills are and to become and know your authentic self. That just really helps in every aspect of life. I just want to remind folks again.
So my book is Developing Authentic Leaders, and my website is very easy as well. It's authenticleaders.ca. And so if you want to reach out, you can reach out through there or through info@authenticleader.ca.
Honestly, I've learned some stuff here. This is what I love about what you provide to me and to the audience is all these aha moments, all these new skills, and sometimes just a refresher. And I think, again, in management as well, you need to be reminded of stuff. And it comes from everyone.
Exactly.
So I'm going to...
And we can learn something from everyone.
Yes. So that's why I'm going to say, humbly, I say thank you very much.
Well, it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Well, we'll have to make sure that everybody keeps on visiting your website so they know when the second book comes out. But also, again, for the first book, go out, check it out. At least go to the website, take a look around.
Yeah.
So
there's lots of great information and free resources. So
we like that word, free. But before I close out, then I was going to say close out before, but before I do, that's free is a good word, but free is not always the best. And that's, I think, the one thing, whether you are a leader, you want to be a leader, or you want to accomplish, you want to learn things, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And that means spend that $5, spend that $30 in yourself. Invest in yourself to be better and to learn. And because so many of us look for free, but we're not going to get everything out of it. And it's an investment in oneself, and that's a priceless thing. So you need to invest. Thank you very much. I have enjoyed this.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it as well.
You're welcome.